thrilling to see.
I'm going to ask you this when the tape comes out.
Rats, I lost my enthusiasm for it now. Oh God, I just told you. Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about the history of matte painting in film?
Well, matte paintings have been around for a long, long time, back to almost to when film was started. I saw Napoleon, Albogance's Napoleon, that was reconstructed by Kevin Brownlow. And it was thrilling because my father's stepfather, my step-grandfather, was a matte artist, very early matte artist, and had worked on the film. He not only had a part in it as Admiral Hood, I believe it was, but there were matte paintings in there that he had done. So my father and I went to see it. It was exciting to see a matte painting done, I guess, in 1926, 27.
It is also somewhat amazing that the same technology exists today that existed in 1928.
Yes, things have not changed that much. I mean, there are effects techniques used today that have been used for literally 60, 70 years.
What kind of impact do you think that the use of computer graphics in Tron will have on films in general? Do you think it will create an entirely new trend?
I think that's up to filmmakers in general. I think the bright ones, the inventive ones, the imaginative ones will stay ahead of the technology. And as long as the imagination stays ahead, you'll be fine. The people who will get in trouble with it will go into it and say, well, what are the limitations? Okay, show me something it can do. Oh, it does a nice little stick figure man, or a rounded man, or it does this little creature. How can we use that in our story? I think that's a mistake. I think you need to understand limitations to a degree, but really you should let the imagination go and then make the technology fit the imagination, not the other way around.
Is there anything to fear about computer technology? For instance, in the way that film editors fear the video revolution?
I don't think there's anything to fear any more than there is to fear from a telephone. I think if you walked in, never having seen a phone before, and somebody said you can talk to anybody in the world with this machine, you'd say, how does it work? And you'd probably back up about 4 steps and say, oh, well, that's a very powerful thing. And the fear is in the lack of understanding. Once you understand it, not in a technical sense, but exactly what it can do, what it can't do, and where it fits in your life, then I pick up a telephone, I don't think how it works. I just think, get me the damn number, in a hurry. And you start to take it for granted. And I think the same thing will happen with computers. In a few years, we'll accept them as part of our life.
Have you and Mr. Lisberger sat down and predicted or tried to figure out what the future of computer graphics in film will be, how far it can take us?
I don't think so. No, not really. We haven't had that discussion. I'm sure Stephen has some great ideas about where to go next, what the next step might be. I really haven't had a traumatic enough childhood to create great art, I guess. And I don't mean to get into why people create great art, but I'm more of a journeyman. See somebody else's idea put on the screen, and the means are very exciting to me. And seeing it come out the other end, creatively, I question whether I don't give it that much thought.
So you don't foresee computer-generated people who will replace actors in films?
No, not for a while. Not for a long while. Long while. To me, one of the best things about Tron is Jeff Bridges. No computer could give me Jeff Bridges today. Maybe in 5 years, I'll have to write Jeff a letter and say thanks, but you can retire now. I don't think that's going to happen.
What about the potential for audience participation in a feature film?
Definitely, very soon, very soon. Somebody's going to try it. Active participation. Good heavens, it's active enough when you go to a theater. People act like they're in their living room and they just about throw things at the screen if they don't like it, and they yell for the good guy and boo the bad guy. I think somebody's going to take that and expand upon it, and I think you'll see films where the endings or portions of the film are determined by the reaction of the audience. That's very, very close. Whether it works or not remains to be seen. Somebody's going to give it a shot.
Then I guess Brave New World will have been correct in its prediction of feelies.
Yes, you will have feelies very shortly. People might not like them. Films have existed in their present format for many, many years. They have seen novelties come and go. We'll see if this is just a novelty or it will be true. I think it may just be a novelty, because I think if a film works successfully, there is only one logical ending, one ending that works. And so what will happen is the audience, in this case of variable endings, will choose the same ending every time. If the film does not work that well, then you may see different endings. But if the film isn't working, nobody's going to go see it. It's a little bit of a catch-22 situation.
Will we look back at Tron in the future and compare it to perhaps the earliest examples of animation in film and see how crude it really was?
Yeah. Everybody will have a good laugh in a few years. Very shortly, perhaps. I hope so. I really hope people expand upon it. I think they'll look back and say, gosh, this looks pretty childlike. You know, it's the very beginnings. But there is so much of it there that it's a good hunk, and I think because there's so much, that it will be a benchmark, whether it's commercially successful or not.
Are you planning to expand upon it? Have you, for instance, and your colleagues set up a production company, Computer Graphics Films Incorporated, for instance?
No, I think there's a lot of talk going on, a lot of irons in the fire. I'm going to take a vacation for a little while.
Well, then we won't be expecting a Tron 2?
Well, I think Tron 2 will be determined on the Monday after the film opens. I mean, the people determine the sequels. The studios never really do it. They say, hey, we had a hit, let's do a sequel. And I think the first weekend's grosses will indicate whether or not there's a sequel. You know, marketing is to the point these days, or likes to think it's to the point these days, that on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's like predicting winners in elections. They project the film will do such and such, and with 90% accuracy, you know, we're projecting this for the entire length of the run. So I would imagine that maybe Monday, when everybody goes to work at Disney, perhaps one of the topics might be a sequel, pro or con. So we'll see. It's a few days away.
Can you give us a tentative scenario on Tron 2?
Tron 2, I have no idea. I wouldn't even want to outguess what Steven Lisberger has up his sleeve.
Do you have a definite project in the works, an upcoming feature film, for instance?
No, I don't have anything. I'm going to be, as they say in the business, between pictures, between projects. That means you're unemployed. You're hoping that there's another one to be between, is what happens in that case.
Well, what does a special effects supervisor, matte painter, associate producer do between films?
Goes down unemployment, and they say, what do you do? And you say, you're associate producer, matte painter, effects supervisor, and they look and they say, no openings today, here's your check, come back in a couple of weeks, go on those interviews. I just kind of relax and wind down a bit, get bored, so you're anxious to do, you know, the grass is always greener. When you're working on the film, you think, oh gosh, if I could only finish, I could relax, put my feet up. You put your feet up for 3 days, you say, well, I'm going to go crazy sitting around the house. I've read everything I want to read. I'm bored. Let's get back to work.
Was your experience as a producer as a first-time producer, a good experience?
Oh yeah, I learned a lot. You don't want to admit that these days that you learn a lot, but I certainly did. It was a very satisfying experience. It was nice to have additional input in a film, and it was nice to work on a film as original as this one. I love working on originals.
Well, can you give us a single lesson that you learned on this film as a producer?
Oh gosh, a single lesson. I can't think. There were so many lessons to learn. I mean, it was. I made my share of mistakes. Thought some things would work that didn't work. I think the biggest lesson is that if you're going to be successful, and I indicated this earlier, you've really got to hire and surround yourself with good people. Successful other people who are successful, who are good at what they do, and they'll make you look good. And it's not a matter of riding on their ability so much as it is just being very realistic. You cannot hire a bunch of flunkies who think you're terrific because you want to be able to do it all, because then you can't do it all. There's no way. You've got to hire the best. You got to get the ones who really want it. And maybe they're very ambitious. Maybe they want to do what you do. that's fine. That's all channeled in a very positive way.
Among the graphic artists that you did hire for this film are Jean Giraud, whose pen name is Moebius, and Sid Mead, who is a futurist, who has an art book called The Sentinel.
Yes.
What attracted you to these two particular talents?
Peter Lloyd.
And Peter, yes.
Who's an airbrush artist and illustrator. Well, this was Steven Lisberger's and Donald Kushner's idea. As soon as they got the go-ahead to do the film, they decided to hire 3 people whose background in film is not that extensive, but who were extremely good artists and illustrators, and get those 3 people in to design this whole world. Say, here it is, create it, here's the idea, here's the concept, now you show me what it looks like. And they did that, and that was terrific. Then we had something very solid, very concrete to go on, and to build the film like that. And there was in my estimation, there was very little compromise made, and it was very enjoyable.
Moebius designed the spacesuits, I understand, for Alien.
Yes.
What was his contribution to Tron?
He did a lot of the costume concepts on Tron, and he did a lot of the not story, but the concepts of how this world would work, of how people would flow through it, of the interaction between the world and the programs. Mm-hmm. He created the movement as much as anything else. It's difficult to take a still from Tron and do the film justice, because it's a film, and it would be difficult on any film, even more so with Tron. And Moebius helped create the way we were going to move through the world, and that was really very nice. It gives you something high to shoot for, to aim for.
And Sid Mead designed the vehicles and many of the sets for Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. What contribution did he make?
He did a similar thing. He designed the light cycles, the tanks, the environments they went in. Designed a lot of those things, with the exception of some things like the Recognizer, which was a very early design by a man by the name of John Norton, who was with Lisberger and Kushner from the very beginning. He's been on the film for the 4 years, seen it throughout, and a lot of his designs, he did the Recognizers, the grid bugs, of which I wish we had oodles of footage. He designed them, he animated them, he did everything. I mean, that's a life's work, those 2 shots of grid bugs there.
Sid Mead's light cycles are, I think, a pretty good example of what computer graphics can do. How is it that an artist like Sid Mead could sit down and draw a light cycle and then have it created or generated by a computer? What's that process?
Well, Sid didn't know that much about the limitations. Sid, being a futurist, being very concerned with what's going to happen, trying to predict the future. For people who hire him, say, design us a building that won't look old in a week. Was very understanding of computer-generated imagery. So he knew some limitations. He knew what it could do and couldn't do. But basically, he made the light cycles, I believe, to look as if they were done in a computer, by a computer, and then that kind of fit. I mean, the computer perhaps could have done more complex light cycles, different ones, but they fit very nicely because we're trying to tell a story that's in a computer, so you want it to look like it's done by a computer.
Well, I think that all of the video fans and video game fans in the audience at the screening loved the movie. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Great.
What do you think of George Lucas?
The man is a sexual deviant.
Still rolling.
He is sick in every sense of the word, should be
No
put away
potential.
for life. No potential, completely without creative thought.
No future.
No future.
He's a class act. And I wouldn't say that I wouldn't even kid about it, because he is so terrific.
I wonder what his studio is going to look like when he finishes it.
Oh, it'll be fabulous. George says what he means to do. He told me I talked to him shortly after Star Wars came out, and he said, I'm gonna create the studio, and I'm gonna do it up north. Da, 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 da. I thought, George, how can you do that? How can you come up with those ideas and put them to work? It's gonna cost you millions. Da, 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 da. It's a nice dream, and I was a little doubtful. Silly me, but I mean, he does what he says he's gonna do. He's very good. I wish there were many people like George in the industry because we'd have a lot of good films to see. So he's been terrific.
He must have shown a lot of interest in the computer graphics technology.
Well, he's created Sprocket systems to build graphics, the computer house himself from the ground up. Right now, they're going to suffer because they're starting and everybody else is out here and they're back here. But they're going to catch up.
And he's doing
in a year and a half.
interactive with Atari, someone said?
Yes, he just signed a thing with Atari. Oh yeah, if somebody might do an active audience film, it may come from George. And it's terrific. It's great he has the resources to do
It's
that
like
stuff.
Tron was in the middle of some problem, and a tank is coming after him. Someone at home can pick up their
Exactly.
telephone and...
Can push the right buttons and have the tank go one way or the
A
other.
friend of mine invented an electronic game show where the numbers on your telephone...
I've seen a clip of that.
That's PIX.
Yes.
When you say PIX, he does it where numbers 1, 0, and 7 activate the levers in the studio, and he built a little robot.
Oh, that's great.
And he put
It's
it on
gonna,
last year.
it's coming. I mean, it's gonna be here so soon.
That's why we got into video.
Well, yeah. You can't deny it. You
No.
better go with it, or else be left behind
That's it.
in a hurry.
Are you going to be here until Monday to?
Now, to tell you which way it's going to go, give me a call. I'll be in Hawaii on Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hawaii seems to be
Successful
where all young
biggest-
It's
filmmakers
like
go.
for filmmakers, Hawaii is like going to Lourdes looking for a miracle. You know, you make the journey. No, I planned this trip a long time ago. It
You
has
built
nothing to
sandcastles
do
with Steven
with
Spielberg,
with Steven or
George
George. It has nothing to do with that. I just like to go. I've always liked to go to Hawaii. They got the idea from me. No, that's not true. I know, and every time now anybody says, "Well, I'm going to Hawaii," everybody goes, "Oh yeah, sure." You're going to look for it's like Raiders of the Lost Sandcastle. You know, you're going to look for the sandcastle. I know. Start building and calling back and seeing what the returns are.
Have you ever had an exhibit of your matte paintings? I know your father's
They'd
works
be
put on
real.
exhibit.
Yeah, they'd be pretty dull. I mean, they really would. One of the good ones from Star Wars that I saved, spectacular ones of Obi-Wan Kenobi going around the tractor beam turn off. I mean, people look at it and go, "Oh, is that what it is? Oh, that is all scribble, isn't it? This is the finished thing." I mean, they want to come over and hit you. You know, you didn't do it. It looks so much better in the film. Well, that was the purpose. You know, it wasn't done to hang in a gallery. Got away with it on film. I don't have to try to get away with it, you know, in person.
We should wrap up. and
Okay,
get to the
thank
next
you.
one.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure
Gentlemen,
we'll have another
thank
one to
you.
do.
Thank you. Never work in this business again.
I interviewed Harrison Ford last week, and he said the same thing.
He did. He
Everybody's
told you about the little children, did he?
Oh, he didn't
Get my
suspect that
camera
there's
shut.
some
Sordid
foundation
tale.
here.
It's sordid. Oh,
You want to do your opening
disgusting.
quickly?
Not
Yeah,
now.
it's
It'll
not
take too
trustworthy.
long, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do a pickup at
Let me
home.
see what the,
And right, I'm not dressed for it. I look like I'm there since 4 a.m.
So what were you doing last night?
Writing up an interview I did with Rob Bottin, the guy who did the special effects for the thing.
Oh, tell him about Book of the Dead. He worked on a horror film that is really gross.
Book of the Dead?
I can't wait for you to see that.
Who directed it?
It was produced independently out of Detroit.
I need,
Book of the Dead.
these guys are
Great
good.
thing.
They give
Well, it
us
was
one
changed
of
to the Evil
the
Dead.
90
The
seconds.
agent said he couldn't sell Book of the Dead.
Tell us about the film. Why it's so tight.
Well, what's my
Well, we've got a half-hour show.
Yeah, we got 30 seconds.
Let's do, put a little clip over what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Okay, now that the tapes are off,
What was it?
when do I get an answer about Watcher in the Woods? Whatever happened to that fashion?
Why didn't you ask?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, you mean you are the one who knows?
Oh,
Speak.
No, no.
Watcher in the Woods. Hey, I failed. What can I say? I spent $1 million of the studio's money and I failed.